So day one of the most significant trial of the racist Derek Chauvin, even though, not really. Everything's all done. It's all wrapped up for today, but you wouldn't really know it was going on because reporting on everything has been kind of light. And I wanted to say that this is the most significant trial, at least in my lifetime. I was very young when the OJ trial was going on, and I knew that that was a little bit more of a cultural event. People were watching it daily, and this one just doesn't, I don't know, have any fucking viability. Like, we'll go through who the jurors are, we'll go through what the coverage of it all today was, but this is supposed to be going on for like an entire month, and unless they get some better witnesses, I don't really know what's going to come out of this. Like, literally, the case looks open and shut. The 20 minutes that came out of the officer's body cam really shows a different story than what the mainstream media is trying to push right now, and it looks open and shut, right? And I think that the violence that's going to erupt at the end of this, right, weirdly enough, right before Memorial Day, regardless if he gets acquitted or if he gets charged, is going to result in violence. So I don't fucking know. At the end of this, I think he's going to end up getting charged with something he's not going to be liable for based on the evidence that's there, but we're also going to have to convince a really awful for the defense jury selection. It never should have been subject to just being in Hennepin County, because it would have literally been impossible for anybody to get a non-tainted jury pool. And it's very diverse, and it fits the demographics of Minneapolis itself, but it's an uphill battle, okay? So 15 jurors, 1 was a seat filler for today, 12 will be on the jury, and 2 are alternatives. But we're just going to give a quick breakdown of who we got. So the panel includes 6 men, 9 women. Not great. So I think the general consensus of people who are looking for acquittal, which I don't know if you see the evidence, I don't know why you wouldn't be on that side. You would be looking for men, obviously. Older men who would have a distrust of authority, who have somewhat of a history with the police, not necessarily a negative one, but people who are reliant on the police and have had favorable encounters with them in the past. Race really wouldn't much matter as long as those conditions are met. But what we got here, it's not great. It's not great, but hopefully they are open to having their opinions changed. 9 of the jurors are white, 4 are black, and 2 are multiracial, according to the court. They include a chemist, a nurse, a social worker, and a grandmother. Oh, fuck. Outside of the chemist, maybe. Those 3 out of the 4, not good professions. Not good professions. Very caring professions, more liberal-minded professions. But yeah, here. So we got juror number 2. It's not, these were the people that were brought up and then they were selected. So the way that ABC is listing them is by the number they were brought up. There were close to 100 that were brought up. So the first one selected is a white man in his 20s. He's the chemist with a combined degree in environmental studies and chemistry. Oh, that's not good. He works in a lab where he tests samples for contaminants that may be harmful to the environment and the worker hygiene. Yeah, whatever. He and his fiancée visited George Floyd Square. Oh boy, that is a guilty verdict. Okay, juror number 9, a multiracial woman in her 20s and has type 1 diabetes. I don't know why that's relevant, but woman in her 20s, that's not going to be great. She describes herself as a go-with-the-flow, open-minded. She is none of those things. Says that she was super excited to get her jury notice. That means that she wants all of the fame and acclaim that comes out of this. So anybody who is super excited to be on there is super excited to vote him guilty. Juror 19 is a white man in his 30s. He is an auditor who says he tries to resolve conflict and makes decisions based on facts, not emotions. Okay, so 1 out of 3 so far. He has a friend who is a canine officer on the Minneapolis Police Department. Yes, this is exactly the type of person you would want on this jury. He said he supports Black Lives Matter as a general concept, but disagrees with some of the ways that the group members go about things. He has an unfavorable opinion of Blue Lives Matter. He wrote in his questionnaire that he heard Floyd was on hard drugs, but said he doesn't believe it should have had an impact on the case. Whether you are under the influence of drugs doesn't determine whether you should be living or dead, he said. Again, he's skeptical of authority, but he knows somebody who's on the police department. Therefore, he knows that not all cops are corrupt and evil. That's my opinion, okay? I'm not this whole back the blue, completely behind police because, yeah, I have extended family members that I think are great, that are on the force. And then at the same time, we've all been pulled over. We all know that sometimes they are total twats. To just blindly back the blue or to just blindly say Black Lives Matter is just the same stupid position, just coming from it from a different angle. So juror 19, not bad. Juror 27 is a black man in his 30s who immigrated to America more than 14 years ago. He went to school in Nebraska, moved to Minnesota in 2012, manages 8 people at his job in IT security, and speaks multiple languages, including French. He and his wife have a dog, but no children. He is a big Minnesota Golden Gophers fan and loves the Vikings. He is said to be to have a somewhat negative view of Chauvin based on the clips of the bystander video he saw on TV. Ugh. Said he talked to his wife about Floyd's death. We talked about how it could have been me or anyone else. He said juror 27 that he hopes to learn more about the events that led up to Floyd's arrest. You're looking at it purely from demographics. Not bad, not terrible. And what he knows is very brief, but if he's honest about saying he's anxious to learn more about the events, that could be a fair juror. 44 is a white woman in her 50s, a single mom of 2. This is a guilty conviction. She said she has had prior professional dealings with Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison in her job, but said it would not affect her impartiality. I highly doubt that. Juror number 52, great number, is a black man in his 30s. He describes himself as a friendly, positive person. He works in banking and likes sports, especially basketball. Okay. He coaches youth sports and writes creatively for a hobby, including scripts and poetry. He says he has a neutral opinion on Chauvin and Floyd. Said he has not seen the bystander video in its entirety, but seen clips of it 2 or 3 times. He hasn't posted about it on social media, but has talked with his family and friends, and he wrote in a questionnaire his opinion has been, why didn't the other officers stop Chauvin? Okay, so he's inquisitive. I like this guy. I don't know if he was doing something wrong or not, but somebody died. Even if you have no intention of doing something and something happens, somebody could have still intervened and prevented that. He said he has a favorable view of Black Lives Matter, saying Black lives just want to be treated as equals and not killed or treated in an aggressive manner simply because they are black. Okay, so he takes it at face value. I don't know what the rest of his questionnaire goes out to say, because when we went through that, it was a whole bunch of, oh, do you support the idea of Black Lives Matter? What do you think about defunding the police? What do you think about the underlying causes of Black Lives Matter? That would be more interesting, but dude seems like a good egg. 55 is a white woman in her 50s who is a single parent of 2 children. This is a guilty conviction. Her youngest is a teenager in her 50s. Holy fuck. She works as an executive assistant at a healthcare clinic and sells Pampered Chef, whatever that is. Is that cookingware? Perhaps. She enjoys riding motorcycles, saying she picked it up because her late husband was, she's a widow, in it, and she rides with him now in spirit. Does she post motivational pictures on her Facebook account? I hate her. She said that she was disturbed by the bystander video, and I couldn't watch it anymore. She said that she has a somewhat unfavorable view of Chauvin because she feels he could have handled the situation better. Yeah, another Karen who's just going to tell you how to feel, but out of fairness, let's finish this. Still, she said she wouldn't be able to form an opinion until she has all of the facts, until she just gave her opinion previously. Before that, she said, she has a basic trust in police officers and a somewhat unfavorable view of Black Lives Matter, saying all lives matter to me. It doesn't matter who they are or what they are. Yeah, okay, some fairly basic bitch shit. I don't think that she would be very favorable to acquittal based on the fact that she is a single mother, and because depending on the circumstances in which her husband died, it's weird that they don't put widow there, because I'm pretty sure Floyd has some kids, so depending on how the defense wants to spin it, that these kids are going to grow up without a father, it's not like he would be active in their lives anyways, and they can make it an appeal to an emotion there. And yeah, the fact that she already had an opinion on it, but said that I wouldn't be able to form an opinion until I seen all the evidence available. Stupid. 79 is a black man in his 40s, a father who works in management and has lived in the Twin Cities areas for about 2 decades after immigrating to America. He lives in a suburb in a home burglarized once, and police responded appropriately even though the suspect was never caught. He says he trusts police and he doesn't feel appropriate for jurors to evaluate the officer's actions. Yeah, this guy's he's on the up and up. He is an acquittal vote if I've ever seen one. 85 is a multiracial woman in her 40s who is married and has a small child. She grew up in a river town and attended college in western Wisconsin. This checks all of the boxes. She is a consultant who helps companies with reorganizations and other transitions. She said she has a neutral view of Floyd, writing in her questionnaire that she knew he died as a result of the encounter and never heard what the cause of death was. Pretty strong faith in police, but they are humans and can make mistakes. You respect police and do what they ask, she said. Interesting. In her 40s, I would like to know if it's closer to 50 or closer to 40. That could be a swing. 89 is a white woman in her 50s, lives in the suburbs. She is a registered nurse. Yeah, that's a nope. 91. I'll link all the articles in the description if you want to. Going over, that's a little bit more to your speed. 91 is a black woman in her 60s, grandmother of 2, who studied child psychology. Yes, she has a very favorable view of Black Lives Matter, writing, I am black and my life matters, identity politics. 92 is a white woman in her 40s who works in commercial insurance business. If someone uses drugs, I don't think it should be ramifications of violence for that. She tries to use big words to sound smart. Good for her. 96 is a white woman in her 50s who has a job in customer service but is between jobs, probably lost her jobs due to COVID lockdowns. She said she has never personally seen police officers respond to black people or minorities with more force than white people. You are not listening to what the commands are. Obviously something else needs to happen to resolve the situations, she said of the officer's actions. I just don't know how far that step needs to go. 118. A white woman in her 20s. One guess to see how this one's going to pan out. She has been a social worker for 5 years, oh boy, and currently coordinates in-home services for people of all ages and mental health diagnosis to help them live independently. She said she's had conversations with others about police reform and says that there are things that should be changed, but she also described police and their jobs as important and says that she is always looking at every side of things. This is an awfully short description. I wonder what was left out of that one. And last but not least, 131 is a white man in his 20s, is an accountant who is married and has a Bernese mountain dog puppy. What the fuck does that have to do with anything? He's a sports fan. Who gives a shit? He says he respects police and views Black Lives Matter somewhat favorably, but notes he believes some frustrations contributed to violent unrest in Minneapolis. You don't say. He also said he understands that professional athletes who kneel during a national anthem are trying to start a dialogue on race. This guy's a fruitcake if I've ever seen one. Let's get into what the events of the day were. Okay? There was a new angle taken from Dragon Foods, or it was a restaurant that was right across the street. It was the security footage that pointed right out to the street. It just shows, we can go through it shortly, but all it shows is 4 police officers surrounding and keeping Floyd from fucking spurging out from having copious amounts of drugs in his system. But the 911 dispatcher, who was the first witness who was called after the opening statements, nothing really groundbreaking came out of the statements, in all honesty. As usual, if you guys were following along with the impeachment trial, most of it was just, hey, this is what you're going to see. Prosecution was a lot of, Chauvin betrayed his oath to his badge, and won't you please listen to our appeals to emotion. And the defense was, hey, listen, the facts aren't going to pan this out. This dude would have dropped dead. He had enough fentanyl in his system to fell a horse. And some other stuff as well, which we'll cover very shortly. But yeah, another angle of this, and the first witness that was up there, the 911 dispatcher, seeing it and is like, oh my God, I gotta tell somebody about this. But something nobody, I don't think, has heard before was Floyd popped 2 Percocets hours before his fatal encounter with police. That's why he was nodding off after he went in, tried to get some smokes from Cup Foods using the counterfeit 20. And then the shop owner, or one of the workers there, came out and was like, hey dude, this is a fake 20, care to. either return the cigarettes or, use some not funny money. And then, well, Floyd, when he was not nodding off in the car, managed to blow the guy off twice, okay? He came back, the shopkeeper did, after not getting a positive response. It was like, hey, I'm going to call the cops, otherwise, if we don't resolve this here. And the reason why he was nodding off, well, because he had more drugs in his system. Who could have saw that coming? Yeah, and again, in his opening statements, Derek Chauvin's lawyer says, as he insists the black man died from drug use and heart problems, not the cops' restraint, which is exactly what the autopsy found, right? Shows no sign of traumatic asphyxia or strangulation, attributes death to being restrained, his underlying health conditions, and any potential intoxicants in his system. Yeah, from being restrained. Okay, I can understand. This is where I could think a manslaughter charge, maybe. I don't know. But it's something exactly how the entire 20-minute body cam footage played out. It's something that he's tried nearly verbatim before, okay? He has drugs on his person. He gets pulled over by the police. Somebody calls the police on him. He's in the vehicle. Tries to get rid of the evidence by ingesting it, okay? If he can't throw it away, he tries to take it. In 2019, the exact same shit happened. But he managed to survive the intentional overdose when he was taken to hospital. And in this case, last year, he pulled the exact same shit. They held him on the pavement for 9 minutes, and then he just flopped around and fucking OD'd out. Okay? There was no sign of traumatic asphyxia or strangulation, okay? No bruising, no shortage of wind, or rather no kink in the old windpipe. Nothing. The dude just died from an overdose. That's what it is at the end of the day. It's just going to take the defense to say, hey, this dude would have died from a drug overdose. Plain and simple. Derek didn't do anything that directly caused Floyd to die. He took those drugs voluntarily in order to not be charged with any drug crimes. And you can have your conversation about the war on drugs after that. And then the prosecution can look at it from the other side. Hey, if he wasn't holding them down, he wouldn't have died because chokeholds are bad and knees on necks and whatever other fucking plays to emotion. It's going to be a long, boring trial. Like, I'll keep an eye on it. I won't be updating on it every single day because I think that might be a waste of everybody's time. Like, even today, dude, there was a slow, methodical pace because obviously you want to cover all of your talking points if you are either side of this. And there just wasn't a bunch of stuff that we didn't know. And of course, if there are any revelatory discoveries that come out, we'll be talking about them. But as for day-to-day coverage, I don't know. I don't know how this is going to play out. I don't think so. But you know who the jurors are. You can see that it's an uphill battle. And then you can see what came out of the first day. Opening statements, a overzealous 911 operator who knew exactly who this guy was, related to the police officers, and then the autopsy report here, where no physical findings to support a diagnosis of traumatic asphyxia or strangulation, combined effort of being restrained, his underlying health conditions, had a heart problem, several of his valves in his heart were blocked, and then you add in the adrenaline of this situation, the Percocet depressing it, the fentanyl massively flooding into his system, methamphetamine's already in the system. It was a cocktail for disaster for anybody, even a healthy person, let alone somebody with a weak old heart. So yeah, we'll see where this goes. It's going to be violent, I know, by the end of it, and especially with the warming weather, I don't see how it won't be. It looks like 2021 is going to be much a replay of 2020, just, I fear, ramped up to 11. As crazy as 2020 was, and we can't forget that, it looks like 2021 is going to be even worse. God, what is that? 4th, 5th, 6th video in a row that's been a total downer? Oh well. It's alright. We got some good news coming up next, I think. Potentially. We'll see where it goes. Thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been John Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.